Good afternoon. I'm Len Tavernetti, and I'm going to be the Master of Ceremonies today. And I have some discussion announcements I'd like to make at the start of the ceremony to help us all get coordinated. The first is, please turn off your cell phone if you have it. We are putting on a ceremony today that's part conglomeration of the different services. All the services perform some type of a ceremony, particularly with cemetery and funeral, and each is a little different. We call each other different names. And so I'm Army. You can see a lot of Navy guys out here. There's some Air Force, some Marines. So we'll all try to adapt. For the purposes of the ceremony, which we'll start when I ask the bosun to sound attention. When I ask for attention, that means everybody should rise and stand at attention the best you can. And if I give the command, present arms, if you have a military-style cap on, please come to present arms. If not, please put your hand over your heart. We will do that when the flags are posted and retired, and also later in the ceremony. I'd like to kind of introduce some of the people that are here. We have a three-time recipient of the Louis Armstrong Jazz Award, who had 3 first places, and that is Carl Bunton. We have Herb Sterner here. He's the head of our, there he is, stand up, Herb. He's the head of our veterans group. And appreciate all that he is doing for us. We have, who will come up a little bit later, Anita Worthen. Anita Worthen is a Gold Star family member, and she will be receiving the flag after it is folded and representing all of the Gold Star families. We have Ensign Allie Vansel over there, who will be sounding attention or piping as the bosun. So we have Colonel Lewis, Division Color Guard Commander, and we have Lieutenant Colonel Blackshear from the U.S. Naval Sea Corps Cadets. We have Drew Mendoza, who's a bagpiper. We have Kelly Norton over here, who has been drilling the color guard, and my commanding officer, Cindy Graves. So, if we're ready, bosun, sound attention. Color guard, present the colors. Present arms.
Present arms.
Order. Arms. Retire the colors.
Forward.
Present arms. Order arms. Please be seated. Cindy, if you'll come up now. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Present arms. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now do the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare on bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Put our arms. Please be seated. Now, if you're wondering about that slight deviation from your agenda, that is because this is the flag that we have inside of our lodge. It is glued into the stand, and we could not have the color guard bring it in carrying the stand with it. And so I have 6 different arrows of how we changed this sequence on my calendar, and none of them were like the way we did it. Cindy, if you would come up now, please.
Of all the poems and writings that I have been able to share over our various Veterans Day, 10 years worth, this particular poem, called Just a Simple Soldier, gets more requests. I get more people at my office asking me for a copy of it. And I get choked up when I read it, so hopefully I can make it through. And it's a precious poem. Here you go. Just a simple soldier. He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast. And he sat around the Legion, telling stories of the past, of a war that he had fought in, and the deeds that he had done. In his exploits with his buddies, they were heroes, every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his buddies listened, for they knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his tales no longer, for old Bob has passed away, and the world's a little poorer, for a soldier died today. He won't be mourned by many, just his children and his wife, for he lived an ordinary, very quiet sort of life. He held a job and raised a family, quietly going on his way. And the world won't note his passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim that they were great. papers tell of their life stories from the time that they were young, but the passing of a soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. Is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land some jerk who breaks his promise and cons his fellow man, or the ordinary fellow who in times of war and strife goes off to serve his country and offers up his life? The politician's stipend and the style in which he lives are sometimes disproportionate to the service that he gives, while the ordinary soldier who offered up his all is paid off with a medal and perhaps a pension small. It's so easy to forget them, for it is so long ago that our Bobs and Jims and Johnnies went to battle, but we know it was not the politicians with their compromise employees who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you really want a cop-out with his ever-waffling hand? Or would you want a soldier who has sworn to defend his home, his kin, and country, and would fight until the end? He was just a common soldier, and his ranks are growing thin. But his presence should remind us we may need his like again. For when countries are in conflict, then we need the soldier's part. It's to clean up all the troubles that the politicians start. If we cannot do him honor while he's here to hear the praise, then let's at least give him homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps just a simple headline in the paper that might say, "Our country is in mourning, for a soldier died today."
We should put there.
Once in a lifetime, a man knows a love like this. Once in a heartbeat, babe, the stars grow bright. The world is mine. Time cannot dim the memories. Your laughter, your eyes, your kiss. Oh, how I love those memories. They're always new. They will be I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through, all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children
Our next song is a medley of the armed forces songs from each of the divisions. And when you hear your song, for all of those of you who are veterans, we would love for you to stand and be proud of the division that you came from.
From the rising of the sun till the battle's fought and won, we will fight for the right and defend our country. We're always ready for the call. We raise and trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our God. Guard, we fight for you. Halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We will fight our country's battle in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. To our last night ashore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. First to fight for the right and to bring the nation's life, as the army goes rolling along, we have done as the army goes rolling along. And it's high, the army's on its way. Count out the saints loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, riding high into the sun. Here they come, soon to be our thunder, and a boy give precious will, when I must say goodbye. I leave the sunshine to the flowers, I leave the springtime to the trees, and to the old folks I leave the memories of a baby upon their knees. I leave the night time to the dreamers, I leave the songbird to the blind, I leave the moon above to those in love. When I leave the world behind, when I leave the
Okay, does everybody have their blood circulating well now? This is the portion, we're going to kind of pass things back and forth here between the Lieutenant Colonel Blackshear and myself. He's going to talk about the rifle salute. I'll mention about taps that will be conducted. You'll be standing for both of those events, and for taps, you will be present arms for that. Then we'll do the flag folding demonstration. We'll bring Anita up here to present her the flag. So,
First of all, I'd like to, just for the sake of clarity, I am a member of the Sea Cadet program. It's a Navy Coast Guard authorized youth group. We're a congressionally chartered youth group. We have no federal connection. However, you see these great-looking cadets and fine officers of our program are authorized by the Chief of Naval Operations since 1958 to wear these uniforms and represent their youth group and the Navy and the Coast Guard. So I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of their commanding officer who's sitting back there, Pete Wright, Lieutenant Junior Grade Pete Wright, and all of our cadets and all of our adults that do this great job, almost under the radar, because the Navy does not advertise, because you know, with costs, we're on their radar about this much. However, 12% of the Naval Academy cadets come from the Sea Cadet program. That's a sizable portion of young people. And it's not because we have this little connection. It's because they're willing to take a bet on kids that have already gone through rigorous training and understand that they're in for 4 years of military training, to put it kindly. Some of the best and toughest in the world. So it's very fine for me. I mean, I love the fact that I can do this job and get these kids, along with all of our officers, and put them into adult level opportunities, such as going away on ships for up to 3 weeks on the Reagan, on destroyers, submarines even. It's a rare opportunity for young people to find themselves working with adults side by side, sailors and Coast Guardsmen, our cadets, getting the world's best training from the world's best trained fighting force. And I'm pitching our program, as you can probably tell, and we need adult leadership. It doesn't work without people like us. And we need support, to put it nice. And we don't go anywhere without support. We get this very tiny amount of money from the Navy, and it underwrites or subsidizes our training for the kids. I run ground school. Kids that come out of our training, such as one of our cadets over here, has got ground school, FAA adult level ground school out of the way, and now he can go on and learn to fly, if he can afford it. I have another recent cadet who did our course on the USS Midway for 2 straight weeks. He earned his wings, and then he got some support from his mother, who went and deployed to Africa in order to make the extra money, to get him the flight lessons, to get him his gold wings. He flies airplanes now as a cadet, and he's applied to the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy, and he has the grades to go to either one of those places. Now it's up to the Congressional Board and his GPA and his SAT scores. So out of our very serious youth program come future defenders of our country. So it's not a lot of grab ass, okay? Our CO sitting back here, he knows, he was in the Navy, and he puts these kids through, not the same training, but similar, training, life experience. So I would like to also introduce and explain a little bit about why we're here. We have the only Sea Cadets in the United States of America conducting military honors at the Riverside National Cemetery. Our duty day is the 3rd Thursday of every month. The Department of Defense has authorized this to take place. They are judged as excellent in their performance, and I'm very proud to say that we have some of the elements of our program, our funeral detail here today. We have some newbies, so I'm not going to take. I'm going to let you know that the rifle salute is going to be great, but sometimes the new guys don't get the firing together, but they're going to do a great job. And so firing, yeah, and also any kids that you want to shield from the sound, you might want to put your hands over their ears, or your own. Save whatever hearing we all have left. And they're trained, they're going to fire real M1 Garands with blanks. And the flag folders are trained and up to speed on the way the Navy is authorized to conduct military funerals. And it's just a great feeling to know that we can get kids to take a day off from school, from their very busy schedules, and they go and serve at our national cemetery. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the rifle salute, and then the colonel is going to talk about TAPS and its background, and then we'll have the flag folding demonstration and so on. So our flag, or rather our rifle salute, is not a 21-gun salute. That's reserved for the president and heads of state and bigwigs. The fallen veterans that served and get the cemetery national honors, or the honors, military honors at the National Cemetery, they'll receive the rifle salute, and it's 3 volleys, which means whatever number of members you have in the rifle team, if you've got 3 or 5, today we have 2, they fire 3 rounds each. So, and they do it together, and that's called a volley. So if there's 7 rifle team members, you could say they're getting a 21-gun salute, but that's not exactly how it works. It's 3 volleys. So Now you all know the standard veteran doesn't get 21 gun salute, but he's getting a really fantastic honor. He or she, let me make that clear. They really, and they deserve it, and we provide it. And so today we're going to do a rendition of a modified funeral honors, not only to commemorate Veterans Day, it's kind of not exactly a Veterans Day kind of thing, but we're going to also honor the POW MIA families and the Gold Star mothers by doing so. So Colonel, if you want to talk about TAPS a little bit.
Most of, or many of our traditions stem from the Civil War. The firing of the 3 volleys was also used, not necessarily with more than one rifle, but with one rifle, 3 shots. At the end of the day, to signify that we were going to go ahead and clear the battlefield of the wounded and the dead. And the opposing side would also fire 3 to say, okay, we got your message, we're going to do the same. When they had completed, they would fire 3 and say, we're done, and the other side would fire 3 and say, they're done. Now, during the Peninsular Campaign of 1862, they were in very thick woods down there in Virginia. It's hard to see, but also it was a tradition to inter on the ground where you were fighting those who had died during the day, and you would fire 3 rifle salutes for that. Now, if you're the other side and you hear 3 shots, you don't know whether it's a funeral or whether it's clear the dead. So the Union forces decided to play a bugle song instead of firing 3 shots during that particular campaign. Previously, the commanding general from the Pennsylvania Regiment had changed the tunes for Lights Out. In those days, when it got dark, you wanted all the campfires to go out at night. You played a bugle music that was called Tempest. And he changed it to the tune we know today as taps. And so they started playing taps at funerals rather than firing during wartime on the battlefield 3 rounds. So that's why you have taps as the way it is today that we know it. And I think we're about ready to go. Allie, if you could sound attention.
Sergeant Major, prepare the team to render honors.
Present arms.
like to invite you to stand for the singing of God Bless America. We are going to sing the first verse, and in the second verse I'll turn around and we'll sing it all together. It's printed on the back of your program.
Olson, would you pipe the side? Thank you all for coming. You're invited to go back to the lodge, to the ballroom and the lobby, and view the exhibits that are there, taste goodies that are there, and thank you very much for your service.